It's Tuesday, time for math, Tuesday. Are you ready to join the 5th graders and 4th grade, Evan in math today? Oh, yes, she is. Lola, are you ready to start math today? Okay, other side, girl. I want to see your rumpus. She doesn't care. She's worried about the food in the kitchen. All right, Jake's here too. So the gang's all here. We're gonna go ahead and start math. Jake, it looks like he's the most excited about math today. Well, maybe not. He's just leaving. All right, children. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to start our math lesson today. I'm super excited because we are gonna be learning about rounding decimals. And, excuse me, I just said that wrong, children. We're not rounding decimals. We've already done that. We're going to be estimating decimals. So estimating is when you make a guess based on numbers and data that you've collected in order to see maybe how much you have or around how much you might have. So a reason why you might need to know this is, let's say that I'm going to the grocery store and I wanted to get a bag of apples, and let's say it's a bigger bag. So let's say I know that apples are around $4.92, and I also want a gallon of milk. So we'll say that that's about $2.23. Now, before I go into the grocery store, I'm going to want to estimate about how much my groceries are going to be in order for me to budget, in order for me to know if I have cash, if I have enough cash, because if you get to the counter and you don't have enough, then that's when it becomes a problem. So it's really important to know how to estimate decimals, especially when it comes to using money. So what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to show you how to solve this, which we did do adding and subtracting decimals last year in 4th grade. So this part's a little bit of a review, and then we're going to be looking at estimation. So I'm going to go ahead and add up my actual total of my apples and my milk. So I'm going to add up here, technically my hundredths. So I would have a 5 here. Then I'm going to move to my tenths, 9, 10, 11. Carry my 1, bring down my decimal. And I'm going to add up my ones. I'm going to have 4, 2, 1. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and my dollar sign. So the total cost is actually going to be $7.15. But what I can do is I'm going to estimate about how much I would need to take into the grocery store. So if I look at the ad, I might have seen that the apples were about $4 a bag, I could say. Or I could even, since we've rounded, I could even change that to about $5. Either one really would be okay. So you could say, okay, well, that's pretty close to $5. And $2.23, that's pretty close to $2. So, all right, so 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay, and so $7 is pretty close to $7.15, right? So what I can do is I can look at the numbers that are in my ones place, and I can use those in order to help me estimate. Let me go ahead and tell you why estimating is important and what it is. So just as you have with whole numbers in the past, you can estimate the answers to problems involving decimals. So like I said, if you have $6.75 plus $15.45, what I'm going to do is I'm going to round to the nearest dollar, just like we did with my apples and my milk. So $6.75 would be closer to $7, right? Because 75 is greater than 50. I'm looking at my dollar sign, so I look next door. Okay, so that is above a 5, so that means I'm going to have to add a 1 here. Okay, that's how I got my 7. Now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to look at my 15. I'm going to look at 45 cents. Well, I could look at it two ways. I could say, okay, 45 is less than 50, so I'm going to need to stay down. Or what you could do is just look at your 4, and you could say, okay, that's less than 5, so I'm going to keep my 15 the same. So then I'm going to come down here, and all I need to do now is add my 17 plus my my 7 plus my 15. So I'm going to have $22 here. So my estimate for this is about $22. Well, what I can do is I can come over here and I can find the exact answer just to be sure. So 5 plus 5 is 10. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Bring down my decimal. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Now take a look. So this is the actual answer, $22.20. See, it's very close to my estimate of $22. Now let's take a look at this. We're going to add on our boards. We're not going to do money. Just look at this. 31 and 65 hundredths. And we're going to add 8 and 2 hundredths, and I'm going to estimate first. So I'm going to take a look at 31 and 65 hundredths. 65 is above 50, so that means I am going to add to my 31. I would make that a 32. Or you could look next door at the 6, and you could say, okay, 6 is 1 more than 5, so raise the score. So that 32 is going to, that 31 is going to become the 32. And then down here, my 8 and 2 hundredths, I can see that that is very close to 8, right? I can see that that's even 0, so I'm definitely going to keep that as an 8. Now, if I add 32 plus 8, that's going to give me what? Excellent. That's going to give me 40. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and I'm actually going to solve it just to be sure. So 5 plus 2 is 7. 6 plus 0 is 6. Decimal point. 9 and a 3. 39 and 67 hundredths is very close to 40. In fact, this decimal would round to 40 if I were estimating in order to get to the closest whole number. So that shows me that this answer is reasonable. I can use estimates when I just have regular decimals in order to figure out if a decimal's probably right. It's a good way to check your work. Next year when you're in middle school, or Evan, when you're in 5th grade, it's going to be a really good strategy to use in order to make sure some of your answers are right. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our student textbook to page 71, right here. And we're all going to try number 1 together. So on our whiteboards, let's write 3 and 78 hundredths and 5 and 2 tenths. Now, because I have nothing after the 2, I'm just going to have a 0 as a placeholder. So 8 plus 0 is 8. 7 plus 2 is 9. And 5 plus 3 is 8. So I ended up with 8 and 98 hundredths. Now, if I wanted to estimate, my 3 and 78 hundredths would become what? Absolutely, that would become a 4 because your 7 is 5 or more. So you're going to raise the score. You're going to add a 1. All right, now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to take a look at the 2 because that's the number that's just to the right of my whole number that's in my ones place. Now my 2 is less than 5, so 5 or less, let it rest. So I'm going to keep my 5 the same. So what is 4 plus 5, guys? 9. Excellent. So are these answers about the same? Yeah. In fact, they're only 2 hundredths away from each other. Okay. So you can see that 8 and 98 hundredths is very close to 9. All right. And if it were in decimal form, that's what it would look like if I brought it to the hundredths place. Okay. Let's take a look at number 2. So on your whiteboards, let's do 12 and 9 tenths plus, I'm going to make sure to line up my decimals here when we're adding, 3, so I'll put it here so my decimals line up here, see that, guys? And 26 hundredths. Now, since I don't have anything up here, what am I going to put right here? A 0, absolutely. 0 plus 6 is 6. 9 plus 2, excellent. Bring down my decimal before I forget. Then I'm going to add up my ones place. Excellent. And bring down my tens. So I end up having 16 and 16 hundredths. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to estimate. Do you see how my equal sign when I'm estimating is almost like a squiggle line? Whenever you see them like that, that's showing you that you are probably either rounding or making an estimate. Okay, it's not an actual equal amount. So if I have 12 and 90 hundredths or 12 and 9 tenths, reading those, that would be the same thing. This would be closest to 13 because 9, of course, is greater than 5. So 13 wholes. And then here I'm going to look at my 2 and my tenths. And you see my cat just run by. My 2 and my tenths, and then I'm going to know that my 3 needs to rest because this number is 5 or less. So I'm going to add my 3 here. 3 plus 3 is 6, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So you can see that 16 is, of course, very close to 16 and 16 hundredths. All right, I'd like for you guys to go ahead and try number 3 on your own. So let's write that on our board. I'll help you get it set up so you can make sure you've got everything in the right places. Okay, don't forget your 0. All right, what I want you guys to do is I want you to actually solve this, find what this equals, and then I want you to estimate over here, okay, in order to check to see if your answer here is right. Go ahead and pause the video. Great job. Okay, let's go ahead and solve this first together. 0 plus 3, excellent. 9 plus 2, perfect. Carry your 1 and bring down your decimal. And then here I know that that becomes a 5, so 5 and 5 is 10, 2, 4. Okay. All right, give me a thumbs up if you got that. Awesome. Look, I painted my nails. Aren't they so nice? Look at that one, it sparkles. Okay, so let's go ahead and look over here at what these would, what our estimates would be. So if I have 14 and 9 tenths or 14 and 90 hundredths, either one is the same thing, then I know that this is 5 or more. So my 14 will become a 15. Did you guys get that? If not, look back and see what we need to do. Now I'm going to look down here. I'm going to look at the number in my tenths place. 2 is 5 or less, so I'm going to keep my 25 the same. 5 plus 5 is 10, excellent. 2, 4, good. Okay, so you guys should have gotten this as your estimate. You can see that 40 and 13 hundredths is very, very close to 40. In fact, if you were to round this to the nearest whole, 40 would be your answer instead of 41. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and look at a couple with subtraction today. Same thing that we're going to be doing, just with subtraction. If you're wanting to follow along, just make sure that you are at the bottom of page 71 now. We're going to look at the guided learning together on number 4. Okay, so let's write number 4 on our boards. And 96 it says. Ooh, it's windy out today. Okay, good. Okay, awesome, we've got it set up. So we're gonna solve this just like we would with addition. So I'm gonna have 7 minus 6, which is 1. Can I do 8 minus 9? Nope, so I'm gonna come over here just like I would regularly. And this would become an 18. 18 minus 9. 9, perfect. Bring down my decimal, and this would be 8. So I'd end up with 8 and 91 hundredths. And my directions say estimate to check your answer, so that's what we're gonna do. So this number up here, I'm gonna look at my original number, my 9 and 87 hundredths. Okay, not gonna look at this 8, boop, 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 because I added him in when I was actually solving it. So I'm gonna look at my 8, and then I know that 8 is bigger than 5, so I'm gonna raise the score. So this becomes a 10. And then here I'm going to have 96. This is a little trickier. Do I have anything in my ones place? No, not yet, but is my 9 5 or more? Yeah, it is. So then I'm gonna have a 1 in my ones place. Okay, so 10 minus 1 is 9. And if I were to round this to the nearest whole, the nearest 1, 9 would be my answer. So yes, this is a reasonable answer. Let's go ahead and try number 5 and number 6 on our own. I'll set them up here on the board for you. so that you can know. Well, let's just do one at a time because I'm not sure I have enough room on my board. Well, maybe I do down here. I'll show you both. 25 and 50. Oh, Miss Cantrell, what are you doing? What do you do? 24 and 59 hundredths minus 19 and 68 hundredths. Okay, and then I'm going to estimate to make sure that my answers are reasonable. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try these on your board. Excellent job, guys. We're going to go ahead and go through and make sure we have these right. And then I'm probably going to have you do a little bit more independent practice today. I wanted to also say excellent job on the Google Slides activity that you did yesterday. You're going to see every now and then over the next couple of weeks where I have you do one of those. It's really just a way for Miss Cantrell to keep track of what you're learning at home. It's a way for me to visually see that you're understanding concepts with decimals. Next, we're going to be moving to percents. And I know that you're not having to show me your math work every day, so it's a way for me to check in. So please make sure that you're doing those. And you guys did a really good job on that yesterday. So just if you see some more of those, you know why. It's a way for me to check in. And I am taking those for a grade, so just make sure that you're doing your best, okay? All right, 5 minus 5 is 0. 7 minus 0 is 7. Bring down my decimal. And then 5 and 5, 0. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to have my 5. I'm going to look at my 7. 7 is more than 5, so I am going to raise the score. So that would become a 6 minus... Okay, so that's a 0, so that's 5 or less, so I'm going to let it rest. And this would become a 1. Now, if I were to take a look at my 7, is that 5 or more? Yeah, so I would raise the score, and that's where my 1 would come from. Okay, so that would have been your answer for this one. Let's take a look at number 6. So if I have 9 minus 8, that would give me 1. Can I do 5 minus 6? No, so come next door, borrow. And I can just put a 15 here. Sometimes I just put a 1 there. Okay, 15 minus 6. We have 9. Bring down my decimal. Can I do 3 minus 9? No. So 13 minus 9, 4. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. So this is my actual answer. Now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to estimate. So if I look at my 24, I'm going to look next door, and my 5, if it's 5 or more, raise the score. So that's going to be 25. Minus, I'm going to look at my 6. Okay, 6 is 5 or more, so I'm going to raise the score. So minus 20. And then 5 minus 0 is 5. 2 minus 2 is 0. So 4 and 91 hundredths is very close to 5, because if I were to round it, if I were to look at my tenths and round to the nearest 1, then I would see that 9 is 5 or more, and so this would become a 5. So double check that you have those. If not, I want you guys to work through those again to make sure that you're good to go with those. Today, let's see what I can do. I'm not going to do the estimating with division and multiplication today, but that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So be ready for that. What I'd like for you to do today is I would like for you to open up your workbook, and you are going to do workbook pages 39 and that's it for today. Okay, so do workbook page 39. Go ahead and pause the video. Excellent job on that, guys. Go ahead and check the answers to make sure this is what you have. So you needed to round each decimal to the nearest whole number, which is what we've done today, and then estimate the sum or difference. Okay, so double check that you have these. Tomorrow we're going to be estimating with decimals a little bit more, except we're going to be looking at multiplication and division. Okay, see you Wednesday.